Proportions have always been an austere implicator of not just identity, age, but I guess a relationship. But with certain genres, I don't know what the hell it means. And in certain times, especially in this instance, it comes off creepy. Trapped in the Dark, an infamous comic that has been known for it being a bit proportionally different, one of the characters closely resembling a child and the love interest resembling an eldritch horror 3 times the love interest age. This comic, I could sit here and maybe lie to you and say I was hoping for something more to it than meets the eye. I didn't want to think it's just this glorified stalker abuse story on this itty-witty man. I'm surely hoping it's not just some toss around of weak tropes, terrible 3D placements, and everyone being completely incompetent.
Tell the truth, it's ass!
Who said that? Desperate to find this series and information, I dug and found out that it was allegedly labeled under horror. And for the first time, one of these stories was actually appropriately placed with another genre besides BL, because this whole relationship is a nightmare from top to bottom. But this is what I got from other sites, not the main, so consuming this and writing, I was very divided. That being said, because I found it was involving fictional storytelling of the K-pop idol life, it really caught my interest. I'm not gonna lie to you, I'm thinking this could either be a take on parasocialism or just another possible fetish with some story. Setting the precedent for what's to come, the first massive character we see is Taehyun, to an idol, MC Haehyun, as if there wasn't any other way to introduce a character. Haehyun just being happy for the support he's gotten, and that's just arousing for this man. But he receives a call giving intel about this idol, and we learn he's a failure amongst his group, and that a homosexual scandal hurt his career. Now, I know this is more like a literal translation, but they make it sound like a witch hunt, an article from the 50s. Now, off rip, there's just something that's off, like way off, like balancing off. Yes, it's the fact this man is making calls to get information about this idol. Yes, the wording choice being a homosexual scandal. And yes, the entire opening shot. But there's just something so off about these characters. I just can't put my finger, my cotton swab on it. But we're introduced to the other lead character, noticing cigarette marks and smudges on his lock. Before we get any real deep insight as to what's going on, we cut to the MC Haehyun meeting his president, and he's offered a sponsor. In order to work, he has to do something. It's not fully said, but it's implied, sleep with in order to get some work. But he isn't interested in those terms, but he's battered down being told he's not worth much. And in hindsight, if you really think about it, the president is the cause of some of these problems. She was the gate connection, because you're that quick to sell him off like, oh my god. But as he's settling with all of this happening, someone has been trying to break in. But thankfully around the corner, he's received a modeling schedule. And the thing that's just so off rears its head in the mirror, the proportions. While it can complement the fashion, it doesn't help the body looks like a Scandinavian cheese slicer and his face looks like a beauty blender. And every panel that continues, it's almost like he magically looks younger and younger, like a really weird skit. And the whole photo shoot segment just looks really awkward. But as the shoot goes great, another thing pops up in his schedule. But we keep getting these frequent shots of him speaking to a fan. And my god, the setup is crazy. Like, it really successfully captures the parasocial setup in idol culture. I think of Bubble, V-Live, those like fan meets online, because where they get off asking super personal stuff is typically the beginning of the end. Following the schedule, as he's trying to fall asleep, we see a large figure trying to break in once again, leaving a powder, and Haehyun starts looking and freaks the fuck out once he looks through the peephole. He falls to the ground and starts crying. Get the fuck up and call the police. What are we doing? If this really is a horror, it makes sense he has the survival instinct of an ant, but I guess the tears work when you have someone parasocialed out. The following day, he's literally scared to say anything because he doesn't want to cause any problems, and that fucks him over big time. He's having a fan meeting and the stalker comes up to him at the fan meeting, and the dialogue is insane. If it wasn't a red alarm to just say out loud how often they watch you from a distance, I don't know, maybe it's rather irony for us viewers. He starts squeezing the ever-living shit out of his hand. Mind you, he is the same size as a white blood cell. Honestly, that looked like it was killing him. He tells him to move along because he's getting scared, but this is completely disregarded when talking to staff, remarking his place isn't far and he'll cover his face and take a back entrance that's empty. When I say there is a lack of survival instinct, bitch, there's just none. Because who notices they're being stalked and thinks, let me just walk through an empty dark garage with bright clothes and no weapons. And as he's making his walk, this massive fucking hand, like this beats shit from 2000s like yaoi, like oh my god. Like every creature sat in a ritual circle and summoned this ultimate yaoi hand, because why is it taking up majority of the goddamn panel? And grabs for him asking if he's going home, and it's the stalker, even taking his mask off offering a ride, but Haehyun pushes him away and runs off. And some of the shots are just comedy gold, because what was the idea for choosing this pose? Most importantly, what was the reference gets used. Go piss, girl. But as he's escaped this evil, another evil calls for him, the one he was in a homosexual scandal with. But he makes a call to his ex because he doesn't seem to be getting the fact that he wants nothing to do with him. We get a flashback showing things were intense, even that it was the MC's initiative to break it off. And when we turn away from that, it's just another evil. It's like Edward and Jacob, except the main character isn't a teenager and both characters are massively oversized abusers. But the ex refuses to take no for an answer, and as that ends, he feels as though he's being stalked. There's a 5-story house, look behind you can't miss it.
I think I see something looking at me through that window. I might.
As the MC is looking around, he runs for his life and notices a powder on his door. When he's back in his apartment, ending his night in fear, just for the next meeting with the president to be with the exact same person that's been stalking him. Cutting to the meeting, Tae-eun is now going to be his manager because Nayeon resigned for personal reasons. Probably homophobic. It was right after the homosexual scandal. When Cotton Swab is contemplating telling his manager where he's seen this man out of worry, the stalker jumps out at the chance to explain it all in a non-creepy version. And we just completely brush over the parking lot touching, the hand squeezing, the I've been watching you for a while, and the dialogue is just, I thought he was a bad person. What the fuck kind of writing is this? It almost pisses me off how forced him just playing it off is like, but why do I feel something is off? Oh, brother. We cut to a random dinner where everyone is drinking with the staff and the MC is drunk beyond oblivion, and the stalker says he will take him home. Yes, it's going where you think it's going. It's one of those BLs. It's only a matter of time. It just didn't happen in the first episode. I'm shocked. I shouted at my screen the moment no one did anything. But what caught me off guard was this panel. It's like if a newborn praying mantis just launched at a brown bear. And they start making out because he doesn't want him to leave. He's drunk, he's not. There's a baby shirt on him and he just looks younger than what he did in the first chapter. This is gross. The stalker is shouting about the guy he's been in a relationship with and sticks it in him, raping him. Following morning, the MC wakes up to being told he has a schedule but has no memory of what just happened last night. He drank so much he doesn't recall, but when he tries asking the stalker, he tells him an entirely false story who, spoiler alert, the MC does find out the truth. Absolutely no consequence happens. I think I should just mention that now because you're gonna notice a pattern with the writing sooner or later, but the MC believes him. Flash forward, they go into the studio, whole recording session. When things get crazy is when we finally meet the ex. And if you think the stalker has a thick neck, this one has an even thicker neck. I want to see them fight it out, battle between the girth necks. He's wanting to speak to him, and the battle of the big hands are pulling and pushing between him, defying the laws of gravity and Joseph Proust. He jumps in the middle to separate them to stop this scene. Following chapter, it's just the I don't know. I can't keep making jokes on the proportion. I just look at them holding hands. He looks like he's walking him to school. Oh my God. Right when the stalker tells him to stop worrying about the ex, this dumb tells him to wait and runs right after him. But the ex just grabs him by the arm and slams him to the wall. The ex starts pounding at him about how he looks with his manager, assuming he's with him. And as the MC starts telling him he's scared and he wish he never dated him, that was the trigger that sets him off, and we get a barrage of hitting, leading on to basically, why do we need to see the whole thing? I don't know, but y'all are lucky because I don't have to show y'all. The stalker finds Cotton Swab after being beaten and takes him to the hospital. And as he's hesitant to tell him what happened because it would be weird, the stalker starts getting very upset. And there's this thing where he says something clinically insane, but you can't tell if it was a thought bubble or said out loud because the reactions are so underwhelming or confused, because wanting to hit him harder while scrunching your face doesn't give mumbling. The MC is told to stay away from him, and it cuts to another activity, and the stalker snatches away his phone because he sees he's distracted. The inner monologue is also insane as well, because what do you mean he's a little forceful sometime? But that's fine? What? He's gotten handsy because, oh well. When he walks back into his apartment, he starts freaking out seeing broken glass. And as he's running thinking the danger's broken, he falls right into the arms of the danger. It's almost chilling how the stalker sits there, 32-inch neck and all, just stone cold, knowing he's behind some of the break-ins. The police arrive, but as the police is telling him to his face they can't do anything, the stalker chimes in telling him he shouldn't talk to him like that. And it's just crazy because like how he steps in, the MC is so easily swayed. He knows me better than my family. After just getting squeezed the fuck, like, it's only been a week. But the stalker manages to convince him to live with him after the break-ins. After fulfilling his schedule, he goes live to talk to his fans, and they notice the big figure in the back, and the MC invites him to be on his live. And it's just, look at him dead in his noseless face, and tell him you wouldn't say no if he asked you for something. But when he sees his reaction, he changes his mind. And just when the stalker makes an appearance on the stream, the MC's nose is finally drawn. Not that that's a really pivotal point in the story, I just noticed that and I thought. Now before we go any further, if you witnessed the events of when this first hit the internet, when this came out there was a lot, and I mean a lot of people making fun of the designs, and there were a million rumors that the artist received a bad deal, some kind of revenge, just for it to get disproven. It was made like that just to be made like that, and people were just putting more on it than it actually was. I've seen a lot of people saying they've adjusted to the style and people shouldn't be so hard on it, saying it's been like this in yaois for years. I'll say this, as much as I'm gonna laugh, the art has improved later on, but it's so gross to me seeing how the MC is being picked to look so baby-esque and so fragile compared to his love interest. Even if it was drawn in a different style, that's what his design is supposed to be. But if you don't like it, you are allowed to not like it regardless of what's been an odd choice for years. But tracking this series down was like no joke. When you have a screenshot and no title name, it's hard to go on Google and type white hair small bottom, humongous top, comic. Moving back to the story, as the stalker puts his massive arm around him being in the frame, blasphemous lies are being told. He's super hot. Please do this more often. He looks like an actor. I mean, I agree with the comment about look at the size of his body. Yeah, they seem to get closer. Yeah, this is unfortunately going where you think it's going. They're gonna have a relationship. When he has to do another activity, he wants to lay down and the stalker tries to convince him to get up and starts tickling him, and Cotton Swab starts feeling something, but shit gets weird really fast. Cotton Swab ends up finding a camera in his plants. He quickly gets the memory card out and finds out his ex put the camera there, recording all the things they've done, even with the new stalker, and he's confused why they both did this to him. But the stalker isn't going to get any repercussion for this because he's the love interest. But just in time, he actually appears behind him. His first mistake was telling him there was a memory card, and he decides to tell him that they almost slept with each other, using Ju-on's comment as a scapegoat as to why he's confessing, and quickly tells him to just tell the police, and he swifts him bad, not even giving him a minute to realize what's going on for him to process to even argue back. But as the night ends, Cotton Swab asks him to sleep there, and as they start cuddling, he's trying to get him to stop thinking of what happened. A bang on the door happens. The ex banging on the door, trying to break in. Cotton Swab brings up the camera and talking about how it's a crime, and he acts like he doesn't care, but is blaming it on him because he turned his back on him. Him and the stalker are gonna have that in common, trying to blame him for everything. But he's saying he would have just quit for him. Like, I get if he was upset because he had to break up, but you're just gonna have to get over it. You can't logically win somebody over back by abusing and raping them. Yes, the MC chose his career over relationship, and that is kind of messed up, but it's not necessarily deserving of what he's receiving. Even Cotton Swab lays it out for him. He regrets being with him, but somehow that translates into, are you saying you're gonna keep sleeping with that bastard? Huh? We are talking about pancakes. How the hell did we get to waffles? But the moment he tells him that that's not his business, he tries to put his hands on him and the ex jumps in. Yes, toxic versus toxic. Kill each other so we can all go home and I can stop fucking reading this shit. Anyways, he gets hit with a bottle and the ex just runs out. Sigh. The stalker tells Cotton Swab to sit there while he goes after the ex. And as the ex is freaking out about how he found the camera, he recognizes the stalker. The man that jumped him put him in the trunk. Bitch, what? He creeps up on him and beats the fuck out of him. Yes, it's not funny. Look at how big their hands are. Like, they have enormous moon faces. But the poor Ook has no clue about anything and goes after him and finds the stalker talking to his manager about the memory card, and he's gonna let him handle it. And when he asks if he found his ex, he says he looked everywhere but couldn't find him. And they go to the home to treat each other. And you see the moment Cotton Swab starts wondering if he should fall for him. I want to fall down a flight of stairs, but it just leads to a sex scene that goes on for like 3 chapters. So we're gonna gloss over that because what follows the scene is kind of bizarre. It's the set of this backstory that follows. We're basically shown this man has been watching him since before his debut when he was like in school. Now, I'm not seeing many numbers thrown around, but if we're going by Korean Idol standards, they are pulling them from like literally right before high school to debut. Like, this is getting weird. By the way, he's currently 29. I'm not sure how any of this is translating, but he has a shit ton of money somehow, some way. He went up to him, overhearing him being an idol, and girl, this is the beginning of the end. Mind you, the MC doesn't have a nose anymore, wishing him to be successful. To summarize the next set of chapters, I was getting the impression they wanted the lead to look not so bad, dad. Oh, he was helping him in one part. Here's some segments of them looking cute together. Don't they look so nice? I'm not following this little redeeming part. I'm sorry. Here, guys, he's not that bad. But by the end, bitch, he got what he wanted. We even see he overheard and saw Cotton Swab going through the memory card. The following morning, Cotton Swab got a bunch of hickeys and shit, and while I'm glossing over the sex scene at this point, he wanted him to slow down or stop, and he ended up blacking out. Like clockwork, something non-consensual has to happen. Sex scene's still going on. There's a common thing happening now between each one. It generally floats towards the not wanting to keep going, and he's being forced to do something more than he wants. In this instance, he was forced to swallow a consistency thicker than milk, and I think this is there to give this little non-consensual effect. Last time in the scene that went on for like 3 chapters, he blacked out after begging to stop. As the first season is coming to a close, the stalker begins to crack already. As the pendulum swings, everything seems to be working out magically for Cotton Swab, topping the charts, more activities, but the stalker wants to keep doing more than he wants, and he's essentially scared of losing a grip on him, and we cut to him taking the life out of Cotton Swab in a public area, oddly making remarks, "You're smiling too much at fans." This is literally the beginning of the end. This character being a narcissist, he's trying his hardest to keep him from being around anyone else. But when Cotton Swab is thinking of going on a normal date, he stumbles upon a photo of his ex and notices, well, shit, where did he go? Later on to an announcement that his ex is actually retiring, and the president brings him in the office. The ex actually snitched on the stalker, beating the fuck out of him, along with the USBs of the camera. And because the president didn't want to risk getting authorities involved and causing another scandal, Sir Thickneck survives another day unscathed, telling Haeyeon the USB disappeared, simply saying the ex took it. But as Haeyeon manages to catch his bearings, the president tells him, you don't want what happened last time to happen again, so just work. And honestly, truly, the havoc that's occurring could be tied to her, you know? She let the connect, like, come on. Later on, Haeyeon is wondering where did his ex go, but Sir Thickneck wants him to stop obsessing over him and guilt trips him. And honestly, by this point, the art has actually improved, not entirely, but it's very subtle changes. The face shape is more evened. Either that or my brain is just starting to adjust, I don't know. Haeyeon makes a call to Nayeon asking where he went, and Nayeon doesn't have an answer but even deters him. But it seems there's an even greater hand at play, and most likely the stalker's connections made her shut up and made him go away. He tries asking his band members, they have no clue, but we're greeted with another scene in a public restroom. Here's another strike. He didn't want to do this, but now he's being forced to, and later in the car, he goes off, but the stalker deflects and doesn't take accountability. But instead, we see Haeyeon doing an interview with an electronic communicating dildo in his ass. And as everything hits a peak at the part in the season, I promise this is where the craziness starts to stick out. The stalker brings up how he's been asking about his ex and bringing up how he has the pictures and couldn't stop talking about him in response to him asking why he looked at his phone. He's saying he should have been killed that night. Shaken by this, he realizes who the scream that night belonged to, and before he could register, the stalker goes in trying to kiss him, but this time he pushes back and is asked if he doesn't like doing it with him. But before he could even talk about the threat, they end up doing it in the parking lot. But after that entire pointless sex scene, Thickneck receives a call about a basement being finished. One would assume that's probably going to be where he's gonna make the MC go. Now we get flashbacks showing he was an aggressive child, had abandonment issues. He's basically scared of losing Haeyeon, and I guarantee you he's gonna lock him away. What happens is a bunch of segments trying to make it look like they're happy together, but what follows is some insane form of manipulation when the other lead is asked to remove a tag with a pair of scissors. He's caught off guard watching Haeyeon with his co-star, and when he hears him being asked for dinner, he takes the pair of scissors, convincing himself that he's lying, losing his shit, and the only way to not lose him is by bleeding, and stabs himself right in the hand, looking at him dead in his eyes, fucking horrifying. Cotton Swab confused. We cue to them in the hospital. When asked what happened, it was an accident, but he takes the immediate moment to guilt trip him, saying he's in so much pain, glossing over to the chaos that's about to occur in the season finale. When Cotton Swab tries to go to dinner with his coworkers, he's almost dragged away by Thickneck because he knows the coworker is there, interrogating him because he's insecure and being possessive. So as everything is starting to blow up in his face, his coworkers try to pull him away and have dinner, but unfortunately, like with his ex, he decides to run back, and just like with his reasonings, is he doesn't want to keep pretending nothing happened. He starts wondering if he should break up with him. Once he enters his apartment, he's thrown on the bed, and this is where shit actually gets really intense. The stalker blames him for why his hand is injured, and now Cotton Swab is apologizing, all in the name of love. How in the fuck? I don't know. next scene, one of his castmates calls him, but he answers as he's being plowed. But the ook steps up and slaps the shit out of him. He's beginning to tell him to stop being treated like that and how he's any different from his ex. I got up and started clapping. He gives him the ultimatum: if he keeps treating him like this, he doesn't want him and he's gonna find a new manager. And the stalker snaps, literally jumping him, telling him this is all his fault, knocking him out and carrying him out. And that's the end of season 1. This isn't a brand new concept, trapped in the dark, still unsure if there's depth in the story or just a fetish. Assuming this is a horror, as once I posted, when going through this I instantly thought of Perfect Blue. I've always been a sucker for idol stories and K-pop and calling out the horrors of parasocial relationships and how fast things can get. Can I say it successfully portrayed a horror in that aspect? 100%. That is a tragic ass relationship. May that love never find me. But
hey, so like, you know, it's so beautiful because like I'll sit on a script for like a couple days and I should be able to backtrack. And then it's crazy because the day I'm editing, I'm not saying, well, shit, I don't see that genre. So kindly disregard like half of the stuff I said in this video. Yeah, bye!
Again, I think it follows with a lot of American horrors where they make unlikable characters that make such interesting choices that when a climax occurs, they make a viewer hate everyone and have no attachment whatsoever. Half of the time in this story, the main character is inconsistent with their instincts and reactions, and when it comes to the stalker's bizarre behavior, the writing keeps them very one-dimensional for the sake of keeping that ook image. Like, I'm not expecting a super hyper-aware complex character, but the only time the main character even puts his foot down is in the car about not wanting to have sex in public. At the end of the first season, I mean, it was possible, but don't get me wrong, every single character is just fucking terrible down to the core. It's either that or we got an abuser or another abuser. If it proves to be the case that this is a horror, then thank God. It's not any different from any other trashy BL I've read. Now, if it's not, like I saw on the official page, as just a BL, this is fucking terrible. There's romanticization of rape, abuse, but on a positive note, what I think has been successfully executed. Hold on, I'm finding it. Hold on. Maybe it's here. Maybe, oh. If I were to say something were successfully executed, it was the suspense. Although some of the choices were stupid, I'm not gonna sit up here and act like I didn't get a little freaked out when Taeyeon got to spend the first night with the MC and pull the MC away when he was drunk. I wasn't shaking in my boots. But there's only so much credit I can give this. What was that? Oh, talk about the art? To be honest, do I really need to talk about the art and the character designs? I think the entire video I've gone on about how I felt. I have peeked into the second season and I can say the art has massively improved. The style looks better, but the character design somehow got worse. The main character still looks massively younger than what he actually is. If anything, that part solely has gotten way worse. Look at this shit, that's a child. While the proportions have evened out a little better, girl, I'm uncomfortable. Like, I get the sole reason this comic blew up at first, but was there an initiative to make it worse? What I can appreciate is the fashion. One thing I can say, the color theory is marvelous. Everything goes well with the character skin tones. The fashion is gorgeous and stuff like that doesn't typically stick out to me when I'm reading a comic. I wasn't sure if any of the clothing choices had any importance to the context of what was going on, but it's just uncomfortable that it's going on a body like that. I have absolutely no interest in picking up season 2, and this was just a moment to like close the part in my mind that has always been there. Did I like this? Not really. Was I intrigued? Partly. In conclusion, everyone needs to die. What do you guys think?